than AJ, who's beaten who he really should be beaten. And look, he's dispatched of those guys really well, but
pro boxing fans here in London at Guildhall, and look behind you, man. It's different.
Yeah, all the slave masters. Yeah. No, it is different. It is different. It's you know, I heard someone told me that, and I should have said this in the press conference, but your mind just goes away. Someone told me that sort of 2,000 years ago, below us, right below us, gladiators were fighting here, and obviously 2 gladiators on Saturday. I should have said that. Why didn't I use that line? But yeah, no, it's iconic. It's different, isn't it? Every venue we've used so far, obviously Trafalgar Square for the weigh-in tomorrow. So Riyadh Season's trying to show London, which I think is important. They did that in LA as well.
Let's talk about this fight. You've just done the press conference with both guys. Anthony Joshua has been in a good mood all week, and he showed that. Daniel Dubois seems like he's just focused. He didn't even want to talk much. What did you take from that press conference?
He's tensed. I don't care. Anyone tells me. Look, I know people will say, yeah, but Dubois doesn't really talk much. Well, I've interviewed Dubois 4 or 5 times now in the last few weeks, and he does talk. He isn't Tyson Fury, don't get me wrong, but he talks. I've been around him, even at the grand arrivals, all smiles. He talks. I just felt like he went out and saw the amount of people, and I think the magnitude of it might have been like, whoa, this is it. We're here. Or maybe, and I said this, didn't I? Maybe he just switched on now. Maybe it's like, okay, jokes aside now, I want to fight. So maybe it's a bit of that. But I did feel like he looked a bit tense. Whereas AJ, I felt he's kind of been there and done it. And obviously, look, there's a lot of pressure on AJ, but he felt a bit more, or at least answered the questions, and he was even trying to stir it, like the sparring question. Yeah. AJ could have been peed off by that. It was like, no, he cracked me. And I was expecting Daniel to kind of like, yeah, sparring, innit? I was like, oh God, if that doesn't get anything, then I'm really done here. That's almost like, you know, when a comedian does a joke and it doesn't work. I was like, okay, let's pack up and leave. But yeah, I think Daniel's a bit tense, but you're going to be. You're having the biggest fight of your life in front of nearly 100,000 people. If you're not going to be tense, then I don't know when you are going to be tense.
Talking about this fight, there's a few narratives and I want to go through them quickly with you. David Hayes actually spoke about this fight, and I think a lot of people have spoken about Dubois' last performance. Great win against Hrgovic, but there was times where he was open, and David Hayes saying, look, if this version of Dubois who fought Hrgovic turns up, I think he's going to have a very, very hard night. Do you agree with that? Do you feel like, you know, if that Dubois against Hrgovic does show up, that Anthony Joshua does take him?
Yeah, if that Dubois shows up. There's also a narrative that, I don't know if this is true or not, Dubois felt one of those right hands early and thought, oh, 1 second, I can go through these. And you don't want to be taking right hands, but we've seen fighters at lower weight classes do that. Like, okay, I'm going to take that punch to get to you and so I can land mine. And actually, if you watch that fight, he does start slipping them eventually. It's like he starts to read them, and they're very slow, but he gets there. I don't want to pick out the negative parts about Dubois versus Hrgovic. The fact is, he beat Hrgovic. Yeah. Like, we kind of, you know, let's kind of read between the lines. He beat Filip Hrgovic, who everyone was kind of avoiding, who was a recognised top 7, top 8 guy, and he basically made Hrgovic kind of say, okay, no more. Like, it got tough for Hrgovic. So I look at that. You know, I look at the fact he was able to beat and stop a 100-pound, heavier than him, Jarrell Miller. So I don't know, man. I don't want to start nitpicking on Dubois' performances. I just want to go with the fact that the record books say WW, and that's what he's going to go with as well. He's taken on 2 good guys, and he's beaten them both and stopped them both. That's enough. Is
this a different Anthony Joshua that we're seeing? Is he a different animal now? You know, he's got a vast amount of experience in his career, but now he seems to be happy. He seems to find that perfect partner in Ben Davison and the rest of the team. Do you feel like we've sort of unlocked a different animal in Anthony Joshua right now?
I hope so, but I'm still very much, reserved on that opinion. Okay. And look, I've been honest, and I know some people are like coming at it, but I'm like, it's Helenius, Ottavol and Ngannou. And I don't know if any of those guys are top 15. You can only beat what's put in front of you. But Dubois has beaten 2 guys, or at least a guy in Hrgovic that we know is a top 10 guy. We know. That's more commendable and will give you more, for me, more confidence than AJ, who's beaten who he really should be beaten. And look, he's dispatched of those guys really well, but I don't know, man. Maybe that's a part of me that wants to say yes because I'm a big AJ fan, but I'm also wanting to not say he's back yet until I see him in against a top guy. Once I see that, then yes. But for now, I've not seen that. Not yet.
I do want to talk about 96,000 at Wembley, big place. Obviously, Joshua's done this before, been there, done that, wore the T-shirt. But for Daniel Dubois, it's a whole different experience. We can talk about Usyk, and that was in Poland, but whatever else. This time around, we saw what Dillian White did against Tyson Fury. People say, look, he might have froze under the big lights. Do you feel like Dubois' mentality is strong enough for him to handle the pressure that comes around this?
I do, you know. I really do. I think he almost has that personality where I don't think that phases him. I mean, you're a big football fan, and there's some youngsters. I mean, look at Kobbie Mainoo for Manchester United. There's some youngsters that can actually just get on the pitch and it's the norm. There's some where it just literally just kills them and it swallows them. I don't know if that will phase Dubois, just because he has got that kind of personality where he does kind of just, you know, heads in this cloud sometimes. And I feel like maybe that's a good thing for this. We'll see. Like when he does that ring walk, we'll know then. As soon as that first bell goes and you kind of have a look at him, then you'll know. But I feel like he'll take it in his stride. I think he's got a really good team around him. I think the experience of having Frank around there who's been there and done it. I guarantee Fury will come into the dressing room before the fight as well and G him up. I don't know. I don't think it will faze him, you know. I really don't. I think he's going to walk out there and think, I belong here. I'm the champion. I went to Poland. I beat Miller. I beat Hrgovic. It's my time. And you don't know how you're going to operate, and we don't know until someone is in there. And I think he will do okay, I think.
Just a final one. With Turki Al-Sheikh, it seems that even if you lose, there is a chance that you get back on the card, providing that your performance is good and wherever else and you're relevant. If Anthony Joshua does lose, Carl Froch said, listen, this is the end of him. But does it, and you know, just sort of putting hypotheses out there, is the manner of loss big for him to carry on? This big Tyson Fury fight happening in 2025, or is a loss, and could this be the end of AJ?
That's a good question. Huh? If he loses to Dubois, it's going to be by knockout. This fight ain't getting points. If AJ gets knocked out by Daniel Dubois, I think it's a very, very difficult comeback. I do wonder if AJ will want to come back. He'll be 35 next month, and I just wonder if he would want to then have to go down. This is no disrespect to these fighters, but do you want to go back down to a Jermaine Franklin type and a Hellenius type and a lot of one? Do you want to build yourself back up again? Can we restart that again? It's going to be difficult. It was easy to rebuild him after Usyk because it was Usyk. Just as Fury's been rebuilt because it was Usyk. That's fine. You lost to a generational great. We now, as fight fans, understand how good Andy Ruiz is. Yeah. So those two defeats, or three defeats, it's kind of easier. Daniel Dubois is not Andy Ruiz. He's not Alexander Usyk. You get knocked out by Daniel Dubois, that's going to be difficult because if you were to have asked people a few months ago, AJ Dubois, people would have said, nah, AJ easy. So you get beat by that person, it's a problem for me. It's a problem. And I think that could be that. And I know you're right. I mean, Turkey is speaking about bringing Deontay Wilder back, and you look at Joseph Parker, how he's rebuilt. They're not AJ. I mean, there's a lot of pressure that comes with being Anthony Joshua, a lot of pressure. And I just don't think mentally he would even want to rebuild after a defeat if that happens. It won't happen, but if it does happen.
Ade Oladipo, always a pleasure, mate. I know I said 5 minutes, it's been 3 minutes over, but
I enjoyed that.
Look, top man, appreciate your time. Tomorrow I'll see you at the weigh-in.
Trafalgar Square.
They're taking all the landmarks on there of London.
Trafalgar Square, well, that's going to be crazy because what I like about that is that you're going to have people that have no idea what is going on, just seeing these two monsters plus the undercard get on the scales, and it sells it to them as well. For us, everyone knows. You know, we're in such a small bubble. You go out there and people don't even know this event's going on. So we're better than Trafalgar Square where everyone's still on holidays just to come through and see it. So I think it's going to be insane, that being in Trafalgar Square, insane. But Saturday is going to be even more insane.
Just a small case of 96,000 at Wembley.
That is what it is, isn't it? I mean, I'm doing the final interview in the ring. I mean, walk in the park.
Ade Oladipo, top man. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time, mate.